This message talks about some very important things. I would like to talk about it. So the first thing that was mentioned in the message that this person sent me, and I have, as you can see, if this is your message, I have cut out a majority of it because the rest of it is not what I'm talking about, so I am not going to put it on TikTok for everybody to see. But notice how the issue with young SA is mentioned. And it is a very valid point. Trauma is trauma at any age. But if you have been groomed and you have been abused since you were a baby, 2, 3, 4, 5, you don't realize it's out of the ordinary. Just as all of us were raised in our own households with our own rules, punishments, love. Unless you're going to your friend's house and connecting that their house is different than your house, you may not realize that what you are going through isn't something that everybody else is going through. You won't realize that the way that your mom, dad, uncle, aunt, grandma, grandpa act with you isn't how other households with that exact family member act. And I think that is something that needs to be talked about more. I feel that a lot of older children, teens, young adults, the things that they participate in, accept, think is normal, can be linked to the fact that their actual abuse started much younger. It may have been a different abuser, but it was just as damaging. So the main thing that I want to highlight in this message is something that I think a lot of us need to realize, understand, and heal from. And that is neurodivergent children being extra vulnerable. In preparation of this video, I did some research and it connected some dots that I did not have connected previously. And honestly, it helped me in a I'm not as dumb as I thought I was kind of way. So I hope that it can help you as well, if this applies to you. Before I talk about myself, I would like to read you some stuff that I found. It can be difficult for us to gauge when certain information is appropriate for us to share and when. For instance, we may struggle to recognize that you can share certain secrets with classmates, but not with the teacher. We may struggle with being impulsive and revealing information without thinking about it. Sometimes we may feel pressure in social situations to talk and then end up blurting out random information without thinking it through. This feeling of pressure can increase if we are already navigating stresses such as sensory issues in the environment or trying to suppress stims to avoid being judged. Neurodivergent people may be oversharers in general, meaning that we tend to over-explain. They may have lots of experiences of being misunderstood in the past, so in order to avoid it, we may explain things in a lot of detail. This can lead to us sometimes accidentally sharing things we didn't mean to. Sometimes neurodivergent children may be really good at keeping secrets, particularly when it is made clear that it is a secret and the reasons why the information needs to be kept a secret. They struggle to realize certain information should not be shared if they do not know it is sensitive information. To neurotypical children, it may be obvious that it is a secret, but for neurodivergent children, it may not be clear to them. I feel like that says a lot about why neurodivergent children may not tell the adults around them. I don't think I necessarily need to go into why I mentioned that. I think we all know why the secret, not secret, could cause harm to a neurodivergent child. So with all of that being said, so I mentioned that learning all of this gave me some healing, and I would like to tell you 2 stories why. I was about to turn 7 or 8. It was within a couple days of my birthday, and I was playing outside. We had a chain link fence, and a man walked on the other side of the fence down the street, and me being me, I smiled and waved, and he stopped, and we had a back and forth through the fence, and I was so excited that it was almost my birthday. I was telling everybody that it was my birthday, and he was asking me questions about myself. You know, how old are you turning? Who's gonna be at your birthday party? And I was so excited. And he said, how about I come back and I bring you a birthday present? And I said, awesome. I love Barbies. I love Bratz dolls. I love baby dolls. And he said, okay, so I will go get you a present, and I will bring it back, and I will hand it to you through the fence. And you probably shouldn't tell your parents, because they'll take your present from you. They won't let you keep it because I'm a stranger, and they don't want you getting presents from strangers, so just keep it a secret between us. And I kept it a secret until this video. And in full child innocence, for weeks, even after my birthday, I would go to that fence every day and wait for him to bring me my present. And one day it occurred to me there was no present. And I was really bummed. Not that he didn't come back, but then I had one last present. A couple years later, I left my house and I walked to the gas station. And I walked back to the crosswalk, and I was waiting, and I was so hot. It was a summer day. I was so hot. The cars were extra loud. I was completely overstimulated. I just wanted to get home. And out of the corner of my eye, a older man walks up next to me and just casually starts talking to me. I responded back, and he said, what'd you get at the store? And I told him, and he said, oh, you're walking, so does that mean you live around here? And I said, yeah, I live right there. And he said, oh, that's a huge house. You must have a lot of siblings. And I said, oh, you know, I got this many siblings. And he said, oh, sisters or brothers? And I said, oh, you know, I got brothers, but they're so much younger than me. So, you know, we talked about my siblings for a little bit, and then he said, you know, who else lives in there with you? And I said, oh, well, my mom and dad are divorced, so I just live there with my mom and her boyfriend. He talked about me as we walked, and I asked him about him, you know, where does he live and all that. And so we had a back and forth the entire way home. I said, okay, have a good day. And I walked inside, and when that door closed, the air conditioning hit me, and I said, oh, that feels good. And then all of a sudden I opened my eyes and went, what did I just do? And I thought of the entire conversation on the walk home. I realized I had just given a ton of information to a stranger who now knew where I lived, what my mom did for work, my siblings, for weeks. I was absolutely terrified that I would see him again, or that he would wait for my mom to leave for work out of the garage and come into my house.